Heading into this season, who has more to prove? Odell Beckham Jr. or Jadeveon Clowney?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I would probably say Jadeveon Clowney because Odell Beckham Jr., he really is just coming off of an injury. And 2019, it wasn't fair to grade him on any of 2019 because that was just such a disastrous season. But Jadeveon Clowney, he comes in here with great expectations. He's only had 3 sacks in his last 19 games and none last year in 8 games. And, it really is an opportunity for him to kind of get his career back on track. Heading into his 2020 season, he was looking for an enormous amount of money and, the expectations were still high. Then he has that torn meniscus last year, and he just really struggled all season long. So now he's healthy again, and it's a chance for him to really get himself back on track. I would say Jadeveon has more to prove.
It's really fascinating, the dynamic that you have with a player who has quite a bit to prove in Jadeveon Clowney. He agrees to a 1-year deal with the Browns, upwards of $10 million. And the fact that he is a teammate of Myles Garrett, Mary Kay, and you've covered Myles, the ups and downs early on in his career, certainly many ups on the field. He's fought through some of the different forms of adversity. And just the way that these two players on different career paths now match up, and when they play at their best, you're talking about not just Pro Bowl material, but material of best defensive linemen in the game. And seeing how these two play together, I think might be the most fascinating element to this season, because you do have such a dynamic duo on the offensive side of the football with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and it makes you wonder if we could find that same type of dynamic on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, well, it's a reason why Andrew Berry has been trying to get Jadeveon Clowney since last year. He wants that synergy between those two guys. I'll tell you, when there's a guy that is picked number 1 overall in the NFL, like Myles and Jadeveon both were, there's something different about those kind of guys. Those guys have an elite skill set that you just don't find anywhere. And when you watch them practice, you can see it. They move differently. Every move they make just looks a little different than your average normal human being. And we're seeing that right now from Jadeveon Clowney. A healthy Jadeveon Clowney has looked tremendous in camp. One day I watched him work when Myles sat out. I watched him work a little bit against Jed Wills, and he was giving Jed Wills all he could handle. Then the next day I saw him working against Jack Conklin, and he was giving Jack Conklin all that he could handle. Of course, you're not really, game planning for them yet. So, you don't necessarily have a tight end helping you chip on that side. You're really just kind of trying to go man on man and see what happens. And that's a tough assignment, to try to stop or block a Jadeveon Clowney or a Myles Garrett. But watching those two guys work together and interact with each other has been one of the highlights of camp for me so far. One of the things that I have found interesting is the way that they are sharing pass rush techniques, little tricks of the trade and tips. They do a lot of that in between drills where they are just kind of, standing there talking to each other and showing how they, do a swim move or something like that. And it's just been kind of cool to watch that. And I think they're going to be dynamite together.